So at least when they fill out their form, they're saying, I don't know much about the Bible. And we've got so many, Pastor Molstead, Chappie, gets so, Chappie D to be official. So we get so many wonderful stories of kids who say, I just came to Bethany for X, Y, or Z, but oh my, I've learned about Jesus, and this is fantastic. So that's what really excites me. So I don't know how we got into that, but does that cover your question? What kind of a school are we?
Yeah, that's
we're
a
both fan.
I suppose harder numbers on that is one thing I'd like to know. Like, what would you say, how many do we gain per year roughly from that? How many people enter the ELS? I suppose you probably don't keep track of if they're entering the ELS.
Well, I know Chappie D had 4 confirmations last spring.
Very nice. Okay.
And
Just
then
curious.
sometimes local churches will do those too, so it's not just the ones you do on campus. I know Mount Olive and Peace and St. Paul's have all been members through our alumni recently.
Okay. You've been patiently waiting.
Appreciate it.
I have a question. I know you had mentioned at the very end of whenever everyone else was here that we are not gaining money per student. So at what point does the student body become self-sustaining? What point do you need to stop growing, or is it always growing and always being in a deficit?
Well, that's a really tricky question. So when I got here, we were in the 400s. And the dream was, boy, if we could get back to 600, everything will be perfect.
Were we sustainable in 400?
Oh, no. We've been at balanced budgets for way before my time. And that's why when you were getting an extra $4 million in donation, it took care of all the problems. And how we built up such a good reserve fund. So, were we sustainable when we first hit 600? No. Because as you grow, you add expenses, and then every year inflation goes up. Every year you should be giving your faculty and staff a raise. So it's just, things are always getting more expensive. Cost of transportation, you name it. So 600 wasn't the magic number. Faculty have said to me, you said at 600 we'd make it. Well, is it 650? We hit 650 a couple years ago. Yeah, not quite. 671 this year. We're just about there. But now we need to add more expenses because we've got we got to give out raises, et cetera, et cetera. Costs are going up, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just it's an ongoing readjust. It's an ongoing thing. Do you ever just find a sweet spot? I wish. Maybe. I know colleges that used to have 2,000 Gustavus, and now we're at 1,600. Ooh, they're panicking. So it's a work in progress. Constantly readjust, reevaluate all the time. Make tweaks. Okay, you've been waiting real quietly here. Did I already call on you once?
Yeah.
Okay, so have I called on you? Okay. Who's not been called on? Please.
Thank you for staying after.
Yes, you're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Can you tell I get excited talking with students? I mean, in a positive way. I enjoy talking to students.
So I think a lot of Houston artists can tell you we've had a bit of an uphill battle in the sense of like, I went to Luther Prep and I was like, I like to make movies. And then everyone was like, you should be a pastor or teacher.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I'll do
I came out of that world. I went to Lakeside. I know. But they have a good video media department, I hear.
So
Okay, all right, go ahead.
But went to MLC and I was like, I don't like being a pastor or teacher. I want to keep making movies.
Okay.
And so I went to Bethany and I was like, whoa, this is weird. There are other Lutheran artists. This is kind of weird. Other people like making stuff. And then Bethany was like, oh, you should keep making stuff. Here's a bunch of job offers
Yeah.
your senior year to make art full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then that was like so against what I knew, because like growing up it was like, that's just your hobby. Like Lutheran, like that's not, you know, being a pastor teaches up here. Artist is like, that's just a fun little thing. So I guess, and I'm like a huge, like, there's like a person at Prep who's like into photography. I'm like, you gotta go to Bethlehem, you gotta go. And I guess I would ask you, what is the role of a Lutheran artist in our world? What is, like, because I feel like, especially like,
the college president.
at MLC and like WLC, they don't get it.
Yeah,
Like,
I understand your world because I did you know I used to be a professor at Martin Luther College? So for 14 years I taught there. You know what my job was? To teach future teachers how to teach, okay? So I understand totally what you're saying, and yes, they are not a liberal arts college. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is to train future pastors and teachers. So that's why I love what we do at Bethany. And Dr. Lowry, do you want to tell them what's really working at Bethany? He's a media guy.
Yeah,
He's an art guy.
what I think you're sharing and what I think is special about Bethany in these areas is collaboration between not just Ben and Mandy and their predecessors in media arts, but the way they work with Andy over in graphic design and the way that they work with Jason Jesperson in studio art. That over 3 or 4 headed monster that's there, and I say monster in the most positive way, have a wonderful way of inspiring you. When you came here, what you're saying is you were understood, right? What's the goal of a Lutheran art? To glorify God and to serve others visually, aesthetically, in pleasing opportunities. That's what those 3 individuals are trying to do, is to glorify their Savior by promoting something out there that's beautiful, timeless, and things like that. And I hope that that definition, first of all, does that, because you're embodying it right now
Yeah. So
by your
there's,
education and what. And here's the thing that's really, really exciting. People are clamoring for it.
we're seeing, so in the year study, what jumped out at us is we're seeing tremendous synergy between studio art, graphic design, and media arts. That whole group is exploding.
Thank you for the clarification, because I think it was just, I think all the other art students probably had that thought, like, are we next?
Oh,
You know,
you're,
like, not,
it is
our
fun.
arts are
What
very
we're
much
seeing
with
is
theater
fantastic.
students, and we want the theater department to.
And we've done everything in our power to articulate that to the leaders in those areas too. But that's really, really important.
You know, you've talked. Who hasn't had a chance yet?
I have one quick comment to what he said. He brought up the word collaboration between departments, and I throw theater in with that too. There are, that's the liberal arts concept, okay? Is this collaboration between different disciplines, and that expands your creativity, your mind, and everything else. And that's a part of what the liberal arts should be about. It's cool to pick up on that.
So you haven't had a chance yet, so.
So it's kind of a threefold question. One of which has to do with the liberal arts. Philosophy is part of the liberal arts. And while I understand that things have to be cut to balance the budget, and while we're looking at the potential of bringing back these things in the future, if we can,
But don't, I mean, everybody, don't say, well, the president said they're coming back. Again, everything is flexibility. The first big if is, well, I shouldn't say if, God's gonna bless this, and then we can figure out a way forward from there, okay? So, but just don't go out of here saying that I said we're gonna bring everything back. First, let's get stabilized.
with that being said, well, I understand that we can't have the major or the minor for philosophy or history. Specifically for philosophy, will we have the intro to philosophy courses taught, even if it doesn't need a specific philosophy professor? Are there other professors that could teach these intro to philosophy courses?
Dr. Lowry can answer that.
Yes, we're working on that right now.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is what he told me is, there are philosophy courses in other disciplines, and as those are needed for other majors, those philosophy courses continue as well.
Religious Studies has one now that has kind of a philosophy edge to it. I think it's called Christian Thought, not Christian Social Thought, but Christian Thought.
Okay, so now everybody's had their turn. I don't know, have you had a turn? Okay.
Are you guys prepared for the people who are going to transfer out, and how are you going to make up the numbers that are the people that are transferring out?
Well, I will tell you that I hope you don't transfer because your program for you remains intact. So that's what I'm hoping. And then we'll have to ongoingly adjust and monitor. But, I mean, first and foremost, I told you everybody here, your programs remain. It's the new freshmen that will first start seeing this. Okay. Have you had a turn yet? Yeah. Okay.
I'm a history major, one of the three. Even though if our education is going to remain the same quality, even without a history professor, I'm assuming, I don't know how I have trouble seeing that, because if they're getting cut for money purposes, that means there's not going to be much funds for that sort of stuff. So how do I justify staying at Bethany when other colleges offer history as well, but they have professors?
I didn't hear the entire question.
How do I stay in my history major at Bethany if there's no, I'll add a word, full-time professor here?
Yeah, we continue to work with qualified, passionate, in many cases, Bethany graduates who meet the credential opportunities here, who have a deep passion for serving you in that area of history, and that can come from people that are serving you now, and hope that God willing will continue to help you through your program moving forward here. Yes, there are other schools that offer history. I know that our history is clearly in line with the light of God's Word, and its truth, and in its purity. And we're going to make sure it's done in the light of a liberal arts education that allows you to apply it, synthesize it, analyze it, and use it for as a Christian vocation.
My question kind of dovetails his. I am also one of the 3 history majors, so we're just kind of stuck adrift here. Did you guys, I know for a fact that McPherson and Regals had given you lists of people to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Did you consider those, or was that kind of out of the question because you knew you had to cut?
In option 2, I told you I showed the board a cut everything budget, which didn't work, a save everything budget, which included hiring one of those history people.
Okay.
And that didn't work because our expenses were even higher. So the only budget that worked was we have to cut back in some areas and try to grow or invest in other areas.
Additionally, into that question, I hold that document that you speak of. I have that, and will continue to talk with those people should there be opportunities available for them to serve in more limited roles than full-time. So those are questions we continue to look at. I also have a group of people currently right now that have been willing to help as well. But I am keenly aware of the document that you mentioned.
Thank you.